This is the difference between like a really good mid player and one that is struggling to get good. All right, everyone, ever since Sumail has joined Enigma, he seems to be on a tear in his pubs, boasting a 70% win rate with 72 matches, which is absolutely insane among like any player to have that type of win rate in your pubs. I think like 55 is considered you're doing really well and you're getting MMR. 70% is actually insane, and he's boasting off the heroes like Storm Spirit, Konka, but the one I really want to take a look at in this video is going to be his LESH track. 100% win rate with 7 matches. We're going to go over like his starting items, his skill build, talents, item progression, and I'll top it all off with a replay review. So to go over his starting item progression, every single game he's going to go 3 branches, a tango, and a fairy fire, and save money for a fast bottle, so he can get that 2-minute water rune. There was one game where he added an extra mantle. I think it was versus a puck, and I think it was the only off game, and I believe he just wanted a little extra base damage in that matchup. Moving on to the skill build, pretty much static through every single game. He'll get stun level 1 every single game. 2 points in lightning at level 2 and 3. Level 4, he'll go back for stun. Level 5, he'll generally go back for stun again. So he'll have 3 points in stun, 2 points in lightning, and then at level 6, he'll get his ultimate. Then this is where he'll differ it a little bit. He'll start getting Edict after that. He'll max Edict out right after getting his ultimate. And he just wants the early nukes to push a lane, win his lane, makes rotations. And then after that, when he starts moving from tower to tower, he'll have the Edict maxed out and ready to go. He doesn't bother getting it in the laning stage because it does not help him win the lane. As far as talents go, same thing. Every game, same talent build. There's nothing that he changes up. Maybe at level 25, I don't have a big enough sample size to like see what he really does at level 25, but pretty much every game he'll go for the 40 split earth radius. Level 15, he'll get the 100 lightning storm damage. Level 20, 40 pulse nova damage. And then at level 25, he gets the lightning storm, can bounce twice on units. And I do not think that will change in future because it has too much synergy with a level 15 talent of 100 lightning storm damage. All right, let's dive into something that will take a little bit more brain power, and that is going to be your situational item builds. Let's go to this first game here. First thing you need to note is when you're playing a game, very few heroes have the same item build for every game. Some do, but LESH is definitely not one of those heroes. In this game, you're going to see his biggest threat, I think, is going to be the Night Stalker and the Chaos Knight. Chaos Knight being number 1. Check out his item build. This particular game, he's doing the starting standard item build, but this game he goes Yule's first item, into a Sage, into Sage and Kai. It travels, but here comes like the big situation item. Very often you see Yules and bots on LESH. It's very, very common, and they're great items. More move speed, more mana. Great for a hero that needs to chase people down. Kai and Sage, also great. Will amplify your spell lifesteal, gives you more mana regeneration, makes you tankier. So those 3 items are pretty key on LESH and pretty like cookie cutter, I'd say. Next item he goes for is very situational to the game. It's gonna be the Aghanim Scepter against the Chaos Knight. Chaos Knight's illusions, when they're decryptified, cannot hit anyone. Pretty hard counter, and you can't buy BKB to get them out of it. So very good choice in this particular game. Seems to be like a hard counter to the Chaos Knight, even added the shard on top of it. Moving on to the next game, he's playing LESH again against a Chaos Knight. I had to make sure it's not the same game. It's not, but there is a Wind Ranger, Chaos Knight, and Night Stalker in this game as well. Goes for the mana boots this time into Yule's, into the Sage and Kaya. After that, he bought an Aether Lens. This was quite interesting to me. This is kind of like adapting to your game and understanding what your team needs. This game, he doesn't really have many initiators on his team. He's got a Razor, a Brewmaster, who's not the greatest initiator, especially if he's not going Blink Dagger. Mirana and Siam like to cast their spells from afar, so they don't really have someone that really gets in there. So he decided to get an Aether Lens to give him a little more reach and maybe initiate the stuns, and I thought it was a very clever choice. But after that, you're going to notice the bots yet again, and then to the Aghanims. So very similar build you see in this game against the Chaos Knight as the last game. The only adaptation was that he got the Aether Lens up instead, and then just built that into an Octarine Core Blink for that. So next game, he's playing versus the Monkey King, the Doom, which I think are the big heroes to look out for when you're LESH. He changes his build up in this particular game. Early game items, all the same. Mid game, whatever, Arcane Boots, Yules. But after that, he's going for the Shroud, the Eternal Shroud. Reason for that being is he's probably going to get doomed. Most likely in every fight. He's playing versus Grimstroke as well, so the likelihood of him getting doomed in team fights is pretty high. He's going for an item build that allows him to press all his buttons, his Edict plus his Pulse Nova, and then just run in there and have a massive amount of spell lifesteal to the point where he can out-damage the Doom. And that's the reason for why he's going this item against Doombringer specifically. It's a great counter. Next game, he's playing versus a Viper, Puck, Monkey King, probably the biggest threatening heroes, Lifestealer as well, magic immunity. He's starting to like change, he's evolving at this point in the game. He's definitely like evolving. Now it's gotten to the point where he's not getting the Yules anymore that he was getting every other game. He's putting more value on this Eternal Shroud item. He's getting it first item. Like, he needs a little bit of mana, so he did get the Knoll. He got the Windlace to give you a little bit of move speed. Some cheap items, some Magic Wand, upgraded Arcane Boots, so he has mana to sustain this build. Because this item does not give you mana unless you activate it, then it does, but it won't help you farm, so to speak. So he's putting a lot of high value in the Eternal Shroud now, even placing it above Yules in value. And shortly after, he does go for the Kaya, feeling like the loss of mana being an issue. Doesn't finish the Sage, straight back into the Yules. Finishes the Kaya and Sage, and then he goes for a Wind Waker, which is incredibly situational item because you can actually Wind Waker out of Puck's coil, and it'll like snap while you're invulnerable, so you actually won't get stunned or take damage. Situational item, but very good. Kaya Sage, bots, Eternal Shroud, Yules. These are all seem to be like the LESH items right there. That's it. There's more. The rest are like situational, like Blink Daggers and stuff like that. But those seem to like be the items you want to go for in most games. The next game, we already went through all the early game items that you buy. We're going to see it again. We're evolving the build. Now, like, maybe he realized that game playing versus Doom earlier, he wouldn't use Yules first versus Doom, but Yules is not that great versus Doom. If you run in first and get doomed, you can't use the item. Going for Eternal Shroud, first item versus Doom, he can actually just run in there, pop all his spells, his Edict, his Pulse Nova, pop his Eternal Shroud, and then if he gets doomed, he's still healing a ton. And it helps in a game like this too, where there's so many summoned units. It's AoE damage, right? So the more damage he does, the more he gets healed. So while there's a lot of treants on the ground and familiars, all this like garbage on the ground, the zoo I'd call it, like you're healing off of that. So it gives him more ability to just run straight in. After that, goes for a Blink Dagger. This isn't, you'll notice in his games where he's doing really well or he's owning, this Blink Dagger will come out earlier and earlier. Sometimes even first item if he's having a great game, but it is very situational. So he doesn't go for the Yules this game. He would rather just get on top of the Visage, get on top of the NP, do the damage, and kill them right away. Maybe even the Wyvern's a great target to get on top of as well. After that, Kaya and Saint. You need this item on Leshrac at some point. It doesn't have to be your first item. It's generally never your first item. Could be your second item. It's mainly around your second or third item is when you pick this up. The next game here, playing against a lot of Zoo again, playing against a Timbersaw, starting to see a trend. These big, tanky, strength offlaners. Leshrac does a great job at killing them. And the Zoo. The Chen here and the Visage being picked up. Goes for an item build of the Arcane Boots into Yules this game. Probably wants to be able to set up on the Timbersaw so they can chain stun him. And the Meme Hammer. Obviously, this game is, look at it, it's 14 minutes long. He probably just ending the game. Someone probably tapped out here. Probably the Visage here. And didn't want to play the game anymore. Because they got 2 owned in the early game. Alright, so this last game is probably my favorite item build, and it's definitely not for every game, but it's something to consider when you're playing Leshrac and you're having a great game. But more importantly than just having a great game, you need to understand that you have a bunch of stuns on your team, right? He's playing with Crit on Earth Spirit, he's got a Mars in the offlane, he's got a CK, there's tons of stuns. So instead of being that hero that just runs in right away, he does something different. And I think there's multiple reasonings for why he did what he did here. One of them is he's playing versus Anti-Mage and Shadow Demon. Running in first is kind of suicide because this Shadow Demon is just going to purge you. Yules isn't going to help you. The Eternal Shroud probably won't help you either because Anti-Mage is just going to blink on top of you too. It's just not a good frontline LESH game. So he plays around the fact that he has so many stuns on his team, gets the Arcane Boots because you just need the mana on this hero. It's like non-negotiable. Straight into the Blink Dagger. First item, Blink Dagger. And runs around the map with Crit, runs around the map with the Mars, and just follows up on their stun, honestly, and does the damage. And that difference of being there right when that stun happens on an Anti-Mage is the difference in them getting a kill or not, to be totally honest with you. But directly after that, it's going into the Eternal Shroud and to a Linken's. This is the situational item for the game. He's skipping the Kaya and Sage because he realizes it's not going to tank him up in this particular game. Him getting purged, him getting mana voided are the things that he's really worried about. He'll go back for the Kaya and Sage. So TLDR here is pretty much good items on Leshrac are Eternal Shroud, Yules, Kaya Sage, Arcane Boots, Blink Dagger. Those are the items you want to look for, and you're going to kind of like adjust depending on game to game on what you're playing against on which one you want to get. All right, let's dive right into a game here of him playing Leshrac and see if we can pick up some tips and analyze what he is doing in this game. First thing you'll notice, he starts with the Fairy Fire, 3 branches, stick, an observer ward. And one of like the benefits of being one of the fastest hero in the game is that he can actually run here and drop this ward faster than the enemy can just approach and even see him drop it. And you'll notice that in this game he will linger around the ward just so they don't try to de-ward it, right? They can run their hero to the side there, pop their head out, and if the tower hits them, that means there's a ward there. But if he is there giving vision on his hero, that'll mean that they will no longer know if there's a ward there or not. And plus he's there to get a kill as well. So some action will break out in the bottom lane here. Prioritizes going for kills here than just going for a big block. Not looking to be too aggressive, just looking to really just try and get a rune and maybe get a kill if someone overextends a little bit. Shows up for the rune, secures it for his team. Even makes Visage waste another soul essential, and it's kind of expensive for Visage to do. Rubik will just tangle up and beautiful in a couple seconds here. Level 1, every game, skill stun. It'll help you secure last hits. Nope. Very good deny of the ward there. Kind of knew that might happen, so we prepared for it. It'll secure your last hits, but at the same time, you'll notice that he's pump faking each one of these stuns. It's giving him an advantage because he doesn't know. The Tiny does not know when Sumail is going to use the stun. So he can actually pump fake the stun over and over, and Tiny might like back down and he's going to get free CS because he's afraid of getting stunned here. Even if he misses a stun here and there, it's a really small radius. It's fine. He's already getting like a bunch of good CS here just by scaring him. Level 2, lightning skilled. Oh, Tiny's feeling a lot of pressure here, constantly right-clicking him in the lane, using his range advantage versus a melee hero. Continuously pump faking, just trying to like scare Tiny here. And at some point he might just let it go through like here and try to go for the kill. And just great harass. And you'll notice with this build that he has and the harass that has been happening, he now has his bottle by 2 minutes. So he's going to get the rune and continuously keep up the harass. Now level 3, straight into lightning. And we'll notice as well that like he doesn't put any more points into lightning after this for a very, very long time. It's just like purely to help with his laning stage. There's no real other reason for this skill. It's not going to help him farm later on because Edict and Pulse Nova are going to do that for him. He's not going to lighten the farm. It's mainly just to get the laning stage advantage. Level 4 got another point in nuke. And Tiny did a good job tossing him back. Didn't have Avalanche to toss him in the tower, but you'll see he continuously mans up here. Keeps using spells. Ends up making a great trade there. This play is really good from Sumail. At 3 minutes, he's taking their bounty rune. Kind of key to note this one. He got the 2-minute water rune. At 3 minutes, he pushed the lane out all the way up here and got the rune. So now he has a bounty rune advantage on Tiny, and if he would have hit that stun there, he actually would have killed the Tiny. Now 4-minute water runes are coming out, refilling the bottle again. Name of the game here is to keep refilling your bottle, keep having mana to harass and farm. We'll see here at level 5 what he decides to skill, but pretty much every game he gets that 3rd point in stun. And the logic checks out for me here too, because you don't really need the Edict right now. Like he's solely focused on winning his lane right now and pressuring. And you don't really chase people down with Edict here, so he's just going to keep landing stuns, farming with his, what is that called again? Lightning Storm? Yeah. And he's just continuously do that, really heavily focused on winning his lane here. And this play is beautiful. I'm not even going to rewind this after he gets the kill. Some might call it basic at this point, but this is the difference between like a really good mid player and one that is struggling to get good. All right, you'll see here that he's level 5. He's winning the lane. He's got 10 denies on Tiny. He knows that. He knows he's going to get 6 first. So he's just waiting for an opportunity right around here. Tiny makes a mistake here. He jumps in on him. Sumail gets 6 right off of those 2 creeps dying, jumps on him, and gets a kill on top of it. Now this Tiny is just annihilated in lane. He's just annihilated. Like, he's having such a bad game. Sumail is incredibly farmed. This build here, how good it is at focusing heroes down. Like, he's chasing the Tiny here, which is a very hard hero to kill. But because he has the extra AoE on this stun, that extra bit of a slow here and damage on the Lightning Storm, he's forcing Tiny to use all his spells defensively or just die. Tries a 50-50 on the rune, but that's just life. Sometimes you can't get the runes. So he goes at 6 minutes to try and check the bounty rune. So keep in mind, as a mid player, you're always trying to check runes. It's going to be 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes for the bounty runes. Even numbers. Pretty much odds are bounties and evens are going to be your power runes. Alright, so Tiny ends up getting the with the invisibility rune instead of him, but it doesn't really stop him. This is the first great rotation by him, and this is like a key rotation you're going to see in most of Sumail's games and pretty much all good LESH games. He's going to rotate to the enemy carry's lane. Right? Makes rotation here, gets an easy kill, and easy pressure. And they get a bonus kill. This Tiny overthinks his damage. Range drop is good for that when you're playing versus Tiny as well. And I think the key thing to note here about Sumail's playstyle and what makes him such a great LESH is he farms in the enemy face. A lot of times I'll see LESH back here farming this camp or stacking this camp and farming here and farming all the way back on his side of the map. It's just not good. Like, you want to be aggressive with this hero and you want to farm in the enemy's face as much as you can. You try not to feed. Again, you'll see Sumail make a rotation. Straight to the enemy carry's lane. Applying pressure with this offlaner. He realizes Void had no chrono, so there's no point playing with him. In general, you don't want to play with your carry in the early game. Finding ways to play with your offlaner as a mid is generally just good. And that's one of the best advice I can give you as a mid laner if you want to make rotations. Play with your offlaner if you want to make kills happen. Or your supports. Both are good. But generally not your carry. You'll still see here, right? Sumail is continuously farming aggressively on the enemy side of the map, getting kills that he otherwise would not be getting, but also not taking farm away from his carry. It's something that he just does so well on LESH, and it cannot be understated on how much impact it has in the game. Still chilling here in the off lane. You'll see Tiny's not trying to pressure the enemy carry, and he's instead trying to defend his safe lane, and he's died twice here now already. And this game is just starting to get out of hand. From a mid player's perspective, winning your lane is huge, but it's what you do after winning your lane that's even bigger. And in this game, Sumail has not only won his lane, but has gotten kill after kill in the enemy lane, playing aggressive, stealing stacks, right? He's not just like chilling, winning his lane and playing passive and farming his part of the map. He's being aggressive, and he's finding kills on the map, and he's playing with his team. And if you find yourself playing alone on LESH, tell your team to play with you, right? You should never be in a situation where you're just AFK for like 12 minutes, farming your Yules, not doing anything on the map. So in this game, he's playing versus Doom, playing versus a lot of Zoo. There's also a lot of nuke damage. Visage has tons of nuke damage with his Soul Assumption, so he's going for the Shroud build here. And yet again, being aggressive, playing with Saberlight here on the map, and they get a kill on Mind Control, trying to get his levels. Really limiting the map, because he's allowing his Void during this whole time to take all this safe farm. This isn't for the mid laner. So we'll see at this point in the game now, he stopped putting points in Stun, stopped putting points in Lightning Storm, and he has fully maxed Diabolic Edict here. Now he can apply pressure to towers. LESH is one of the best snowballing mids in the game, because you can not only flash farm, win your lane, but you can also have, he has a very unique feature about him. It's that he can take towers very quickly too. So he's found like the perfect infusion of like winning your lane with your skill build into also being that type of hero that can just take down these tier 1s with any rotation. Just chill and be like, hey Tiny, if you want to come forward, we're gonna punish you for it. And indeed they do. For those that are not familiar with this item, because it doesn't get picked up a ton, but it creates a spell shield around you that absorbs 400 magic damage, converting damage taken into mana. And you can imagine how on a hero like LESH that really needs mana, that's amazing. And on top of it, it passively gives you 20% spell lifesteal. LESH is all spell damage, 8.5 health regeneration, and 20% magic resistance, just making you even more tanky. And that's the name of the game with LESH. You just want to be as tanky as possible so you can do damage. This is the hero where if you don't itemize correctly or you don't position correctly, depending on the situation of the game, of course, you can die very, very quickly if you don't have the right item build. So it's all about just being as tanky as you can on this hero to do the damage. You'll notice here, whenever there's action on the map, Sumail will be ready with his TP, instantly looking to get some kills on the map. Ends up getting a kill. Does he stay down here and farm? No, he knows he's really powerful. He's going to run immediately across the map, leave his void to farm this whole area. In fact, everyone on this game realizes it. This is like a 10k MR average game. They're just going to get out of there because they're winning the game. They want to continue to win the game. So they're going to go run across the map, look for more kills. And if they're not kills, they're just going to force this Tiny to not be able to farm anywhere on the map. But if he is greedy and he tries to go for the CS here, he's going to be in trouble. And it looks like he's just going to die here with no spells here. And at this point in the game, it's safe to say this Tiny's done with the game. But it gives you a good example of like how Sumail plays LESH track in the early game. One of his strongest like traits, I guess, as a player is his early game dominance. He's just so good at the laning stage and so good at playing the early game.